Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston subdivision in HO Scale. My name is Daryl Cruz, owner and builder of the layout, and your host for episode 23 of season 2023. I'm sure there's more gentlemen out there watching this than ladies, but welcome to everyone for the update for this week, June 11. I have a lot to share with you, especially on doing scenery. Going to be sharing some methods that I'm using for putting the finishing touches on the scenery, and it has all to do with layers, adding layer upon layer. First of all, I want to recognize all of my members and supporters at Patreon. Thank you to all of these people. Shout out to everyone for supporting this channel. And I've been using your support to kind of save up for a very special feature that's going to be on the layout. And that is excursion trains. I am very, very close to having enough money put aside from our members and from the supporters at Patreon to get an excursion train on here. As you can see, this is a FEF. This was a trip that it made in 2017 through Echo Canyon. So I've always wanted to have this on the layout, and I'm really, really close. Hopefully very soon you'll be seeing excursion trains on the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston subdivision. Thank you again to everyone who supports the layout, and be sure to look at the links in the description if you want to become a member or support on Patreon. All right, now sills, red sills and yellow sills. Here you have, of course, the yellow sills. I did have one locomotive. I shared this last week that I inadvertently purchased with the red sills, so it's been on the layout incorrect. I think as of 2011 or I think it was 2011, they had to put yellow sills on all the locomotives. So I went ahead and used some micro scale decals and put some yellow sills on this locomotive. Now, when they were doing this, sometimes they just put the yellow over the red, which is what you have here, and then you can see the red is not covered where there's any printing. Later, I think on most of them, they eventually just painted them all. But have that one done, then it looks pretty good. I am looking to patch this SD70M. I cannot find a picture of an SD70M that's patched in 2015 or so and has yellow sills. So if you can find me a picture, do some research. I would love it if somebody could find that example, and then I can go ahead and patch it. If I can't find anything, I might just have to have a FUBI on the layout and just pick a number and patch it and put yellow sills on it. All right, so this is the area that I have worked on this week. And I want to kind of show you how I did this a little bit. First of all, tape everything down because you don't want to get any paint on the track and so forth. And I also taped the backdrop. But first step is to paint, and I kind of did it in sections. Here you can see I have painted the next section. And then I put layers of ground foam. I use the fine ground foam, yellow grass and burnt green grass. And I put the yellow on first. Then I put the green on top of that. And then I come back with just a little bit of yellow. So it's 3 layers. Yellow over everything. And then the green burnt green grass on there. These are all fine ground foam by Woodland Scenics. And then back again just a little bit with the yellow. Once I get it to where it looks hopefully similar to what it is in Wyoming. Then I spray it with some wet water, which is basically just water with a little bit of detergent. And then after I get it wet, then I come with some diluted white glue. And you can see I'm using 2 different spray bottles. The spray bottles I'm using for the glue is a little bit more expensive. I think it was $5. When I was just doing the water, I used the cheap $1.99 one. The glue, it's important to get a little bit better one because the glue is a little bit more problematic as far as clogging it up. So I get a little bit more expensive sprayer for the glue, diluted white glue solution. And I dilute it 3 parts of water to 1 part of glue. So it's pretty heavily diluted. It's definitely diluted more than I do for the ballast, which I just, dribble on drip by drip. If I'm spraying it through, which you kind of need to do for the scenery, I wouldn't want to just drip the white glue solution on. It looks much better to spray it. Now you notice I'm spraying it where you can almost see the glue. Now that's kind of not quite that bad. I think it's just the reflection makes it really stand out. But I definitely did get it pretty saturated. All right, once I have the whole layout sprayed and glued, then I come back. Now this is when all of this, the entire section has been sprayed with water and also with the diluted glue. Then I come with the coarse ground foam. And this is the burnt green again, I think it is. And I put that on first. Just kind of sprinkle it on. And then I'm doing the yellow grass here on top of that. So this is basically the 5th layer of texture. First 3 were yellow grass, burnt green grass, fine grass, and then yellow grass again. And now we're doing a layer of the burnt green coarse ground foam, and then the yellow coarse. And then we go to the clump foliage, and I'm using medium green and light green as the 2 colors. And then this is the medium green. I think I eventually put some dark green here and there too. Now this clump foliage likes to roll down hills. So if you're putting it on a flat area, it'll stay. But if it's on a slope of any kind, it will roll down the hill. So a lot of this, some of it rolled down by the track. There, you just had some roll down there. I usually, before I spray it down, this is all rolling down a little bit, but I kind of make sure it's pushed away from the track because I don't want the foliage to be right up against the track. Now, if you're doing a little bit more of a short line, you may be okay with the foliage being close to the track, but for a Class 1 main line, they usually keep any kind of foliage like this clear of the main line and around the ballast. So before I did this more permanently, I did kind of push it away. You can see how some of it was already kind of moved away. But this here you can kind of see where everything is, and then I don't know if you can see, is I then sprayed it. You don't have to do the water with the clump foliage. The water helps the fine ground foam stay in place before you hit it with the white glue. And I kind of spray the water from high above, so there's hopefully not much disturbance of the foam. But here I basically drenched everything with the white glue at the end. And this is what it looks like after taking the tape up. This is after drying for a couple of days. And you have to let it dry completely. It almost seems like the clump foliage is not glued in place at all. If you like the next day, it still is easily moved. The fine ground foam gets stuck pretty quickly, but the clump foliage, it takes a couple days for it to glue to the point where it'll stay. I won't take a vacuum to it, especially the clump foliage, but for the most part it'll stay in place, and you can brush up against it and it'll stay in place. And this is what it looks like, and I think it looks pretty good for Wyoming. I am going to eventually put in trees and static grass at some point. I'm kind of going back and forth on how I'm going to do this. I originally, oh, by the way, I painted the track also, although I ran out of paint. You can see the turnouts here are not painted, whereas the turnouts there are painted. So I am going to hopefully do some ballasting here yet, and I'm also going to put in the backdrops. I did take some pictures when I was out in Wyoming and Utah, so I'm hopefully going to put in some photo backdrops, and then of course going to be ballasting. Now, as I said, I was planning on for this peninsula area to do it completely, all the way to, you know, fully detailed and so forth. But I'm having second thoughts about that. I really like the way the layout looks with it, having the basic scenery down and the ballast, and having the fascia painted and everything. So I think I might, once I get this part here ballasted, I think I will definitely go in and put in the backdrops also. And then I'm going to go ahead and move on and work on the rest of the layout. The next section will be the Evanston section, and I'll do both levels, the lower level and the upper level. And so I'll do all of the Evanston and the level above Evanston, and then do on the other side of the peninsula, do Emory and West Vaco, and then the Echo Canyon, and Wholesome Cement, and then the upper level of Granger and so forth. So I kind of think I'm going to get the whole layout to the level of having the basic ground foam in, and the ballasted and the photo backdrops put in. I'm going to try and do that all the way around the entire layout. And then I'm going to come back and do the more detailed scenery as far as the static grass and scale trees and things like that. And I might go back and forth, but I'm kind of thinking that I want to try and get more of the layout done. It'll be nice when I get the entire layout to the point where the fascia is all painted and has a little bit more of a finished look, and then I'll come back and keep adding details. So it's going pretty quickly. Has kind of take a little bit longer because I'm spending so much time actually running the trains and having fun playing with the trains. What we're doing right now is we're kind of seeing, this is the whole, you get an idea of what the whole basic scenic area is looking at like right now, what it all encompasses. Basically, it's the entire peninsula. All right, so things I'm going to do fairly quickly is the photo backdrop. So definitely the backdrop here needs some work. So the photo backdrop will be put in, and then I'll have to touch up the scrapes and so forth and make that look better. Still need to ballast this bridge here. I am going to do that right away. I finally got some railings in, so I'm going to be finishing the bridge up there, and then Again, more photo backdrops here. This is at the very end of the peninsula now. This is where this will be the main scenic area, although there'll be some pretty cool scenery in Echo Canyon and Taggart tunnels and Devil Slide and so forth. But this will definitely be the featured, one of the signature areas where the main lines separate and go to different elevations. The original main line and the modern main line area. When I come back and do the scenic, the more detailed scenery, which will include the static grass and scale trees and so forth, we'll also include doing weathering on the scenery, weathering the track. So we'll be taking my airbrush and weathering the track. The tunnel portals will need some weathering. There's that little rock area there that I think will need some weathering. But here you can kind of see where we transition into the most recently done scenery here. See a couple trains meeting here. This is the UTLX repair facility. Part of the detail, of course, will be buildings also. Looking forward to getting a bunch of buildings done. So a lot of fun work yet to be done on the layout. Definitely is coming along. I'm having a ton of fun building this. And also throwing in there somewhere along the line, I'm going to start weathering rolling stock and locomotives. So it's going to be a while before I get everything completed. In fact, it's going to be years and years before I get everything the way I want it. I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. I think this next week I'm going to be looking at some photo backdrops. I think that's going to be my next thing. And then ballasting this in the weeks to come. And then, of course, look forward to hopefully seeing an excursion train running through here. That's going to be awesome. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Subscribe, please, and become a member. Like and comment. Whatever you can do, it's appreciated. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.